It is now 5 p.m., March 21st, 2017, and I call to order the meeting of the City Council of the City of Victorville. And the City Council sitting is the Library Board of Trustees, Southern California Logistics Rail Authority, Southern California Logistics Airport Authority, successor agency to the Victorville Redevelopment Agency, the Victorville Joint Powers Financing Authority, the Victorville Water District, and the city as housing asset successor. May we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Gomez.
Good evening.
Member Kennedy.
Here.
Councilmember DeGretti.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cox.
Here.
Mayor Garcia.
Here. This is the time and place for the general public to address the City Council on any item listed or not listed on the agenda. Per Government Code Section 54954.3, state law prohibits the council from addressing any issue not previously included on the agenda. The council may receive testimony and set the matter to a subsequent meeting. I do not see anyone in the audience that would like to address the council. Therefore, we have closed session items by our city attorney, please.
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. We have 7 items listed this evening on the agenda. Item A on behalf of the City Council is anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D2, and the anticipated litigation facts and circumstances are set forth on the agenda. Items B, C, D, E, F, and G are all related. They are pending litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D1. B and C on behalf of the City Council, items D, E, F, and G on behalf of the Airport Authority. The litigation is the ComAv versus Southern California Logistics Airport Authority and City of Victorville. The specific case numbers and case names are set forth on the agenda. To the extent there's reportable action, we will report it at the conclusion of the closed session or at the commencement of the 6 o'clock regular session.
Thank you. We will now recess to our closed session. It is now 6 o'clock, March 21st, 2017, and I call to order the meeting of the City Council of the City of Victorville, and the City Council sitting as the Library Board of Trustees, Southern California Logistics Rail Authority, Southern California Logistics Airport Authority, successor agency to the Victorville Redevelopment Agency, the Victorville Joint Powers Financing Authority, the Victorville Water District, and the city as housing assets successor. May we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Gomez.
Good evening.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Here.
Councilmember DeGretti.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cox.
Here.
Mayor Garcia.
Here. May we have closed session announcements by our city attorney, please?
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. We had 7 items on closed session this evening. Item A on behalf of the City Council was anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D2. The facts and circumstances surrounding that litigation are set forth on the agenda. Items B, C, D, E, F, and G are all related. They are all pending litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D1. Items B and C on behalf of the City Council. Items D, E, F, and G on behalf of the Airport Authority. That litigation is the ComAv versus the Airport Authority and City of Victorville litigation, and the specific case names and case numbers are fully set forth on the agenda. There is no reportable action with respect to any of those matters this evening.
Thank you. At this time, we will have the invocation, and it will be delivered by Pastor Dane Davis of First Christian Church. And after that, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Police Chief John Schuler. Please stand.
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. In 1 Timothy chapter 2, the Apostle Paul writes, I urge then, first of all, that requests, prayers, intercession, and thanksgiving be made for everyone, for kings and all those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. This is good and pleases God our Savior, who wants all men to be saved and come to a knowledge of the truth. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for the gift of prayer. Lord, the opportunity you give us to come before the Creator of the heavens and the earth, the Creator of this universe, Lord, and ask for your wisdom. We ask tonight for wisdom that we ourselves don't have. Lord, we ask for guidance and direction and discernment that we don't have. Lord, we thank you for the gift of leadership in this city. And Lord, with all the challenges Victorville faces, we thank you that we have leaders that truly do love this city and are working for the good of this city. So Lord, I pray tonight that they would work together in unity. I pray that you'd be with each person that steps up to this podium and shares what's on their mind and heart to share. And may we all work together as one person, contending for the good of this city in a way that brings you honor and glory. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do not have any proclamations this evening, so I will have our city clerk present the agenda to council and revisions to the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. Persons who wish to address the council on a specific item or any item that does not appear on the agenda are requested to complete one of the white speaker cards located in the council chambers lobby and give it to the city clerk prior to the meeting. The mayor will call upon each individual who has submitted a speaker card. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.3, state law prohibits the council from addressing any issue not previously included on the agenda. The council may receive testimony and set the matter to a subsequent meeting. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes per speaker or less as deemed necessary by the mayor. Communications are to be addressed directly to the city council. Individual comments to staff or members of the audience are not permitted. Any individual or group who engages in disruptive conduct during the meeting will be removed from the chambers by order of the mayor. All documents to be considered for approval at this meeting are before the council, and there are 2 revisions to tonight's agenda which are on the dais for the council and available to the public. The first one is a revision to agenda item number 9. This is at the request of Councilmember Gomez, a list of ceremonial recognition items from 2014 to present. The second item is related to item number D10, also at the request of Councilmember Gomez, an accounting of city council travel expenditures from 2014 to present. And those are all the revisions I have, Mayor Garcia.
Thank you. We also do not have any appeal hearings or public hearings. So we move on to consent calendar. Consent calendar items C1 through C5 can be approved with one motion unless there is an item that needs to be pulled for discussion.
C2, I have a comment on C2. For C2, it's adoptions for the ordinance 2363. I understand it's a second reading. We have titles 10 and 16 being met. Can someone of city staff please explain why we have to go through the procedure if we already have something in play?
This is, as far as why this is on the agenda, this was I believe this is the second reading of the ordinance, so this is something that was discussed at the last meeting. It has to come back for a second reading in order to actually be enrolled into our codes. I don't know, Keith, if you want to try to give just a brief explanation of what this is again?
Yeah, so at the last meeting, this item was introduced, and it's doing 3 or 4 things. It's actually clarifying some conflicts between sewer and development code, which sewer code is dealt with under Title 10, and development code is dealing with Title 16. So there was certainly some conflicts, some ambiguities. So one of the ordinance's changes is to lump everything relating to sewer into sewer Title 10. So we brought some more clarity to some of those issues. It introduced and made effectively part of law, part of the ordinance, some policies we've had with respect to our FOGS program, which is fats, oils, and greases, and starts addressing that in the code. There was also some wastewater related matters, particularly as it related to our industrial wastewater treatment process, a program that's been handled administratively. Now it's being codified in ordinance. So that's what I recall from our last meeting generally, what the ordinance did. And this is really now a procedural second reading. And my understanding is after the second reading and 30 days elapsing, this becomes effectively law.
That is correct.
And if I probably need to pull C3, I'd like to have discussion on that. So I'd move to bring C3 out, not included with the one motion. This is conflictual. We're talking about Sierra Golf Management. I wasn't aware that there's a ruling where you have to recuse yourself, so I want clarification for that regard. And also, I've had a few members come up to me, residents, saying that the beautification of a golf course versus 7th Street being laid out and the grass dying is probably not something that we should be looking at. So to me, that's something that my community has brought out. So I think we should probably have a discussion on C3.
What's happening here? Have we pulled some items from the agenda?
Councilmember Gomez is requesting that item C3 be pulled. I believe that we're looking for a motion for the rest of the consent calendar.
I'll move approval of the consent calendar with item C3 pulled.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kennedy, second by Mr. Greddy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? None opposed. Motion carries unanimously.
On item C3, to avoid any potential appearance of bias, I would recommend that council members Kennedy and Cox recuse themselves, just because it does have to do with the golf course. And the conflict is essentially they own property, residential property, that abuts the golf course.
Correct.
So the discussion with the golf course are plenty. I've known that we're going to be talking about this item, and this item has not produced anything for the city of Victorville when it comes to gaining monies, and we are going to be approving something on the agenda, and we're going to spend more of the taxpayer money, and to me that's kind of a concern. I think there is other discussion that it was said this could be an eyesore if it's not something that we maintain. I've also heard different members of the community express that why keep the golf course in play, making it look beautifully green when we let our grass die off on 7th Street. So I know this is going to be some discussion, and I just wanted to get the input from other council members. And what is it that's going on with, why are we keeping a bill here when we're not producing absolutely no money? We're actually losing money on this.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, this item is actually a cleanup item from a transition, an ugly transition away from our former operator. And when Sierra Golf Management took over the operation of the golf course, there was quite a few unknown costs, and this cleans up those unknown costs from, I want to say, 3 years ago. To provide a little bit more detail, I would ask Christian Gunter to come down and talk about exactly what is included in this. This is not an item to keep the golf course open or not. It's not an item on the overall golf course budget. That's a better discussion for our upcoming budget hearings when we get to them. But Christian, if you could explain the details as to what these monies are and what's happened over the years.
Certainly. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. This is, as you said, a 3-year-old item. When the previous course manager took over the course, they had management fees that were unpaid for a little over a year. About a year and a half into it, they asked to be paid for them and submitted an invoice, and that's what this item cleans up. In terms of, and that's really what this item is. You had other questions as well. Do you want me to?
Well, can you explain a little bit about what this goes to pay? What are the management fees that we're talking about?
When this basically is a percentage of the operations to manage the golf course and pays their administrative overhead and their profit for operating the course. That's what we pay them for. The previous managers who were there did not do a good job. And that's about all I can say, because I believe we have an agreement that we can't say very much.
Right. So this is essentially a cleanup item of an issue that happened really 2 to 3 years ago. I appreciate your concern about the golf course. I don't know that this is the appropriate item to discuss the overall management of the golf course, but certainly with our upcoming budget, that would be a time to discuss or propose, potentially shutting it down if that's a budget cut that you'd like to propose.
Okay, so the monthly management fees are $6,358 per month, and I know that the community services always lacks in parks and stuff like that. So the play hasn't increased, as I was told during my meeting, and so I'm a little bit concerned. So if this is not the appropriate medium to speak about this, I'd like to have this item agendized in the near future.
Certainly.
Thank you.
The appropriate time would be at budget. We can certainly bring an item forward to discuss, the continued use of the golf course.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve item C3.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Negretti, second by Ms. Gomez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries with council members Cox and Kennedy absent.
Can someone grab them?
Now we move on to written communications. First item, D1, purchase of traffic signal control cabinets. Madam Clerk, please read the recommendation.
The recommendation is that the City Council approve the purchase of 2 traffic signal control cabinets from Trafficware Group, Inc. in the amount of $39,409.23.
Move approval.
Motion by Mr. Cox, second by Mr. Kennedy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? None opposed. Motion carries unanimously.
Item D2, amendment number 8 of the General Services Provider Standard Agreement with Vulcane Materials. Madam Clerk, read the recommendation.
The recommendation is that the City Council and Victorville Water District Board of Directors approve Amendment Number 8 for an increase in the not-to-exceed amount of $25,000 and a total not-to-exceed amount of $175,000 of the General Services Provider Standard Agreement with Vulcan Materials Company for hot mix asphalt under Project BM 10-011 for fiscal year 2016-2017.
Move approval.
Before that approval comes through, I'd like to ask a question.
I'll second it so that the motion doesn't die for the lack of a second, and acknowledge as a request for information from.
Thank you. I remember we approved $25,000, and now we are saying not to exceed $175,000. What was the exchange from one approval, 25, to now being to not to exceed $175,000?
The aggregate contract is what becomes the $175,000 amount. What we're asking for is an addition to the previous amendment of $25,000. So it effectively makes the contract in this current fiscal year an aggregate of $75 with all of the prior amendments, but we're asking for an additional $25 in this case.
So motion by Mr. Kennedy, second by Mr. Cox. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? None opposed. Motion carries unanimously.
Item D3, purchase of a Genie GTH-5519 Ridge forklift. Madam Clerk, read the recommendation.
The recommendation is that the City Council and Victorville Water District Board of Directors award United Rentals the piggyback purchase of a Genie GTH 5519 Reach forklift in the amount of $79,207.12 under the National Joint Powers Alliance contract number 091615-URI as budgeted for in the fiscal year 2016-2017 capital improvement project budget.
Doug, just so everybody understands, we buy these vehicles under a joint agreement. You kind of give us an update on that? Why we don't go out to bid on every
Yeah,
vehicle?
these are actually bid by these large cooperatives that go out and vet all these companies and get bids from them. And generally, they're a 4-year term. They hold their price, and it meets our obligation for bidding this stuff out and purchasing it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kennedy, second by Ms. Gomez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? None opposed. Motion carries unanimously.
Item D4 and D7 can actually be handled as one item since they are similar. And so I'll read D4 first, and then we will do D7, and we can actually vote on both at the same time. D4, agreement with Dr. Pepper 7-Up, Inc. for an ion exchange system at the Victorville wastewater treatment plant. And D7, amendment number 9 to professional services contract for operation and maintenance of Southern California Logistics Airport, SCLA, wastewater treatment plant. Madam Clerk, read the recommendation.
The recommendation on item D4 is that the Victorville Water District Board of Directors appropriate an additional $48,530 from Fund Number 412 and approve the agreement by and between the Victorville Water District and Dr. Pepper 7-Up, Inc. for the installation and operation of an ion exchange system at the wastewater treatment plant and authorize the city attorney to make non-substantive revisions to the agreement. The recommendation on item D7 is that the City Council approve Amendment Number 9 to the Professional Services Agreement with Woodard and Curran.
How much money is involved in, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, I have a question. On item number 7, project budget is not shown, project cost, but there's an agreement. What is the cost of the agreement? I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
Yeah, the contract is structured with Woodard Curran. You're talking about D7.
Yes.
So effectively, it's a $600,000 contract, and of that, effectively, Woodard Curran is serving as a pass-through between ourselves and GE, where they're going to actually procure the equipment to install at the wastewater treatment plant. That amount will be recovered to the order of 93% from Dr. Pepper as a part of the contract provided for in D3. And if I can provide maybe a little bit of additional information, so maybe it helps connect the dots between the two projects. And the reason why the fiscal impact, I'll just speak to that real quick, is not showing that $600,000 is because those costs won't be realized until the forthcoming fiscal year. So they'll actually be incorporated into the upcoming budget. What we have shown in the fiscal impact is only the amount that's going to be realized in this current fiscal year, which is what you see on item D4, I believe it is, to the order of $48,530. But between the two, and just as background, as you know, Dr. Pepper Snapple has been operating at SCLA. They manufacture a variety of different beverage products. They employ 260 or so employees in an 850,000 square foot building. They produce product for 20% of their U.S. consuming population. And since June of 2015, we've put in place, we've gotten a permit with Lahontan where we have discharge requirements, and those discharge requirements can't exceed a certain threshold of total dissolved solids of 465 milligrams per liter. There's become issues with certain types of products when produced at the Dr. Pepper plant that actually throws off the constituency limitations. So we've actually had to require Dr. Pepper to try to conform to our permit requirements. They've had difficulty doing that with certain products, particularly their tomato-based products have been very troublesome to deal with, and is actually just in the last calendar year been determined to be in non-compliance with their permit with us, their industrial wastewater permit with us as Victorville. So we've unfortunately had to issue a compliance order, something of which this is going to help satisfy. In everything that we've worked on with them, it doesn't seem that there's a way to deal with their TDS exceedances without installing some alternative form of technology. So effectively what's happening here is this is a short-term solution. It's an ion exchange type technology, which is trailer-mounted units, which will help reduce and dissolve out some of those TDS, which is effectively salts. And it's something that they're obligated to pay for. So this will do two things: allow Woodard Curran to procure the GE equipment on our behalf, install that at the plant, and then separately the item under D4 is an agreement with Dr. Pepper where they're going to reimburse for the cost to basically satisfy their TDS limitation requirements.
Have we been able to use our credit with GE?
On the Victorville 2 site, no, we can't use it for anything other than the purchase of power equipment. As you can imagine, GE has more departments than the city does, and they function essentially as separate organizations under the umbrella of GE. So we wouldn't be able to use any kind of credit towards something like this.
But this equipment will only treat Dr. Pepper Snapple wastewater?
This will treat the effluent coming out of the wastewater treatment plant. So it's the product of both effluents. So the way physically it's going to work is past our existing, what do you call it? UV disinfection. Just past our disinfection, what we'll actually do is pull off a side stream. And that side stream will go through these trailer-mounted units. There's an ion exchange process that will help pass the water through a medium, retain some of that TDS. Eventually, when those units fill up, those get hooked and hauled off and taken down to a facility down the hill and replaced with a cleaner unit. But once that side stream is cleaned, it actually gets deposited back into the wastewater treatment facility just ahead of the UV, and it'll actually help start diluting further down the TDS, especially when the constituents being sent by Dr. Pepper are higher.
I think what's important in this item, the two items, is that Dr. Pepper Snapple going to be required to pay 92% of the capital cost, if I have that correct. And then, in addition, 85% of the operational cost, I think?
Yeah, it's about that.
About that, okay. Thank you.
And the reason for the difference, if I might, I can clarify, because there is actually a benefit we can derive as a city by actually getting the TDS down to a lower level, such as the 450 milligrams per liter. What we're going to require, what we're going to do is, if we can get the total dissolved solids down to 450, we actually have a commodity that we can sell easier to High Desert Power. So one of the things that we did is we worked with Dr. Pepper first to satisfy their issue, and then we agreed that this technology will actually help us further treat to make our commodity reclaimed water more available to High Desert Power. So that additional cost that's being incurred is going to be our cost, because that's the additional cost to improve the water to a standard that High Desert Power can accept.
You think this will mitigate the need to go to a reverse osmosis process?
No, we believe this is short term. We do believe currently this is not the most cost-effective means to handle this. We are actively exploring an alternative which would likely use reverse osmosis and potentially even drying beds. But right now we've got a compliance order to satisfy. So we're dealing with this, and we're approaching this on a short-term basis. In fact, I believe the contracts are structured in such a way where they look at this as from a 2-year window before we come up with a longer-term solution.
If there are no further questions and there's no objection, I would move that items 4 and 7 be combined and would make a motion for the approval as recommended by staff.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Cox, second by Ms. Gomez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? None opposed. Motion carries unanimously.
Item D5, traffic signal at Mojave Road and Amethyst Road. And
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, I asked that this item be placed on the agenda. We had some public comments on this intersection at the last meeting, and I wanted to provide the public and the council a time to discuss this issue, but also provide an update for the public and for the council as to staff's work on that intersection. Some of the commenters mentioned that we had done a little bit of work out there to try to make the stop sign more clear and make the traffic striping more clear in that area. And to give you a little bit of history, I want to say maybe 2 years ago, I don't know exactly when, we did a series of traffic studies along Mojave Drive, trying to see which of those intersections met warrants, they're called. It's complicated engineering studies that are difficult to explain because there's 9 separate warrants. But ultimately, at that time, East Trail and Cobalt met warrants, and Mojave did not. It's a little bit surprising to us. And at that point, we actually applied and were awarded a federal grant for the light at East Trail and Mojave. Cobalt, the light is in now largely due to the school that's on the other side of Mojave from the residential area. But at Amethyst, it didn't meet warrants at that time, so therefore we weren't eligible for a grant for it. And actually, if it doesn't meet warrants, we can't simply put one in, or the city would then assume risk and liability for a light that is unnecessary based on the traffic counts. So following a couple of major accidents, we took another look about 2 weeks ago at the traffic counts and at the accidents. Although it's very rare for an intersection to meet warrants based on accidents, there isn't really, there's a bit of a misunderstanding by people that, that there has to be a certain number of deaths or something along those lines. That's not the way that it works. There is one of the warrants of the 9 that actually looks at the number of accidents. If there are 5 accidents that would have been prevented by a traffic signal within a 12-month period, then it would meet that warrant. This one does not actually appear to meet that warrant even at this time, although we can continue to study it. Based on the traffic studies that were completed or done on March 7th, 2 weeks ago, we actually meet 3 of the warrants at this point. Why we didn't 2 years ago, I don't know how much change there's been, but we actually meet an 8-hour volume of traffic warrant, a 4-hour volume of traffic warrant, and a peak hour warrant. So we are adjusting our budget. We actually have a contractor under contract to put in a traffic signal on the other end of town, and we are going to attempt to negotiate an expansion of that contract, a change order to that contract, to, as quickly as possible, put that light in at Mojave and Amethyst. If we can't get a fair change order done, then we would go out to bid. That's about a 2-month time frame to go out to bid. We're hoping we don't have to do that. We're hoping we can negotiate that change order and bring that back for ratification from the City Council. So the interesting thing about it is that as a result now, assuming we can move as quickly as we believe we can, this signal will likely go in before the one at East Trail, which is actually federally funded, because it takes almost 2 years to put in a light that we receive grant monies for. So, are we doing this in response to the accidents? we're doing this in response to the effects of the accidents. Yes, staff are human. We obviously see what happened, but we're not doing it because of the accidents. We're doing it because it now meets warrants and it didn't previously. So I wanted to give the latest possible update. In fact, when this agenda item was put together, we didn't have all of these facts even. So that's why I didn't put together a written report. I wanted to get the absolute latest information that we had for the council and for the public. So,
Doug, one of those, I only know what I'm reading in the daily press about the cause of the accidents, but one of them was a guy who actually ran the stop signs on Amethyst and ran right out onto...
Yeah, we're still waiting on the major accident investment team's final report on that, but at this point it appears, and based on what I read in the newspaper, the latest accident was someone who was at the stop sign and pulled out to turn onto Mojave. I don't even know which direction, and there was a vehicle already traveling on Mojave, and that's what essentially was the cause of the accident. You know, like I said, we're still waiting on the major accident investigation to be done by the sheriff's department, but that's what the report was in the newspaper.
You think the people that approach that stop sign on Amethyst believe that the traffic on Mojave is going to stop? Do they think there's a three-way stop there, do you suppose?
I can't really hazard a guess as to what they may or may not be thinking. I used to travel that way on a very regular basis. My parents lived in that area of town, and myself, I'm not saying this about any of the accidents that have occurred, but I have been frustrated over the volume of traffic and my inability to turn onto Mojave at times. I've been patient, I believe.
Are stop signs an option?
Stop signs are an option, but in this case, a stop light would be better. We can get a better control over the traffic. In fact, one of the things that we're looking at, engineering is looking at, is for the existing stoplight as well as this new one and the new one at East Trail, is to have some traffic calming late at night to where you have essentially a red light at each one, waiting for the sensor to detect traffic, so that you're not going to have a situation, if this is ultimately what the traffic engineer determines is the best course of action, you won't have a situation where you've got 3 green lights and people end up picking up speed up to 70 or 80 miles an hour. Again, they would have a series of red lights that would change for them as they approach the signal, and it would have a calming effect. As I said, this is preliminary, something that the engineers are looking at to see if that is an appropriate action to put in place.
Doug, I have a question. You said something about unnecessary based on traffic counts. Is that a technical report that the city staff has already conducted?
We did a warrant study a couple of years ago, I want to say maybe as much as 2 years ago, and that's based on traffic counts. At that point, it didn't meet those warrants. It does now. That's why we can finally move forward.
So that is something that the city is going to be putting money towards?
Yes, we would use existing city funds. That's one reason why it can move more quickly than the light at East Trail. The East Trail light is actually federally funded, so there's a lot more paperwork involved, a lot of time in showing that we followed all the rules of the federal government before they'll reimburse those monies. So the other interesting thing is that we actually have, normally it takes anywhere from 6 to 12 months for the signal poles to be custom ordered. You would think those are all the same, but they're actually not. Every one of them is a custom order. We got lucky in this case in that another signal that had already been purchased near 395 at, what is that? Cobalt. Well, anyway, where the Lowe's was going to go in, the developer of that project had already purchased the signal poles. And it just so happens that because it's essentially the same intersection, it's very similar, 2 roads coming together, those signal poles will actually fit the Mojave intersection as well. So we're going to use those poles, which are already in stock, and then replace them for that future development.
I have a few questions. So where are we getting this money from? Is it from the general fund? Is it the special tax? Where are we getting that money? That's one question. The second one is, are we going to use bonds, any kind of Measure I monies? And then the third one is this going to be a capital improvement program that we're going to seek to put on this budget, or the budget that we're going to be altering in the future?
So let me go backwards. This will be something that's in this budget. So at some point in the very near future, we will bring back an item to ratify decision made by staff to go ahead and put that signal in. It would then appropriate those monies into this budget to the extent that it's needed. And I believe that's going to be either gas tax or Measure I, maybe a combination thereof, but not any bonding of any type.
And what's the approximate cost? Because I know we were going to have the documents today. Carolee had said today we would have them. We would have the information for the reports the day of, but I don't see a report, so I didn't know if it was going to be an oral report. I assumed that it would be a paper backing, but...
No, it's just an oral report at this point. A typical signal like this costs about $350,000. I would estimate $350,000 to $450,000 on this item.
So that brings a little bit of concern to me, because we just, for the fire protection services, we canceled their contract because we don't have any money. We're going to probably look into a special tax because we can't annex into the district. It wasn't approved. So I'm wondering, and I know our community services director doesn't have enough money for parks and recs. So I'm just wondering, where are we getting the $350,000? Are we reallocating monies from one section to another section? How are we?
So, as I stated in your last question, it would come from either gas tax monies or Measure I or some combination thereof. Those monies are restricted only for those traffic type of purposes. We couldn't spend those monies on county fire contracts. We couldn't spend those money on parks. Those are very specifically only for roadways, roadway improvements, traffic signalization, that sort of thing.
Okay, so we don't know. We know it might come from gas tax or Measure I money, but we don't know how much is there. But we know there's enough to cover this cost.
Yes, there's definitely enough to cover this cost. And this will all be documented when the item comes forward at a later time.
And so the project will be taking 6 to 12 months for its completion?
No, actually, I would anticipate if all goes well and we're able to make a change order to that contract, I would think early summer. Typically, this would be about a 2-year process to put in a traffic signal.
Thank you.
Do you have a motion here?
No, there's no motion necessary,
that's
just
right.
information
This
at this point in time. So,
informational only.
if
Thank-
there was
thank you. That was
a big disagreement with how I proposed to make this happen so quickly, I would make an adjustment. But I'm not hearing it. It sounds like you want me to proceed as quickly as we can.
You did a fine job. Thank you very much.
Staff did a fine job. I just get the benefit of being able to report it to you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. D6, discussion and possible action regarding Assembly Bill 199. Madam Clerk, read the recommendation.
Before, if I may, Madam Mayor. Yes. We've received information, we received recommendations to adopt, I guess it's a resolution in opposition. Somewhere there is, here's the opposition. It's a page and a half. It's in committee. I'm not recommending the council take any action. Of course, they can. It's fairly apparent that many agencies and several cities are opposing this. I simply wanted to go ahead and submit it to the council because of the discussion. There was an editorial in the Daily Press. It is being discussed in our sister cities, and therefore I wanted this put on the city council agenda. Since I was asked what the council is likely to do and it hadn't been addressed at all, I figured that it needs to be put on the agenda so the city council can read the information and then take any action or no action, whatever they deem is appropriate. And that's the reason that I placed it, because of the discussion and because questions. That's why I asked if it could be put on the agenda, and it was timely because we had other calls and requests to place it on the agenda. And I believe, Saturday or Sunday, there was an editorial in the Daily Press regarding this very same issue. So that's my part in this item.
Madam Mayor, I would suggest that this would be ideal for the Legislative Review Committee to take a look at.
I agree on that.
I think that's a good idea.
That is a terrific idea, yes.
That's their calling in life. We need a motion to refer it, or?
It'd pretty helpful to have a quick motion on it.
Before you make a motion, I'd like to ask a question. If any action were to take place before the discussion comes to an end with a motion, what is a possible action that can come forth?
I don't think anybody's asking for an action at this point. I think what they're asking for is to refer this to the Legislative Review Committee to get a recommendation.
No, so just backtracking a little bit, Pro Temp, Councilmember, I'm just going to say, Mr. Cox said, if there was a possible action, it could. So I'm assuming that there's a possibility of this taking place. However, other individuals decided a legislative review would happen. So I'm wondering if there were to be an action and it's here, would we entertain? What would this look like?
We are not having an
My
action.
understanding is you're waiting for a recommendation of the Legislative Review Committee before you make or take a position on it.
Their job is to review it and come back to us with a suggestion about whether we ought to do something or do nothing. And I would just like them to have a chance to review the legislation and come back with that suggestion. And then if we want to take an action, we will do so.
Just within the realm of possibilities, we get asked fairly regularly to take an action to support or oppose legislation at either the state or federal level. And typically the council would consider just a letter stating support or opposition. If they feel very strongly, perhaps a resolution of support or opposition. I don't know that there's a whole lot of weight that's carried by either of those two actions. Typically, you end up getting listed as support or oppose as it moves forward through the legislature, and that's about the extent of it. So that's the two options that are at least listed in the attachment as from the request from the Building Industry Association was one of those two items, and that's typically what we would look at for any piece of legislation that we were asked to take a position on.
So before we make that motion, I'm still going to continue. I actually wrote on this assuming that we would take action. So deliberation is the moment where we take.
We're not taking an action on it now.
He's motioning it right now.
We don't have a motion yet, I don't believe.
I'm making a motion to refer it to the Legislative Review Committee.
Oh, that's all.
Second.
Yeah, but if it's second and third, I lose my discussion. So as point of privilege, I like to take the opportunity and talk about this. May I? Okay, so this is AB 199, and it's titled Public Works, Private Residential Projects. It's about the latest disputes between unions and the home building industry. This AB 199 bill could require higher wages to workers on any residential projects. As Chu said, I too agree with this sentiment to establishing why AB 199 is good for workers. I want to make sure workers get fair wages for projects using tax dollars. Prevailing wages laws were brought to ensure that construction laborers get an equitable compensation on projects paid for fully or in part by public money. On March 15th, the state capitol will be hearing its first hearing on AB 199. The law would apply only to the programs where public funds are being used. The affected projects would only be programs directly subsidized by taxpayers, said the author of this AB 199 bill. Updating the law after Governor Brown closed the redevelopment agency, and this is what Kansan Chu is coming to do, closing that gap. Again, AB 199 would compel workers to be paid a higher wage on more than housing projects that is currently occurring now. Our 47th Assembly woman who unseated Cheryl Brown in November's election, Eloise Gomez-Reyes, voted in favor to advance it. I think what's essential is to pay prevailing wages to construction workers. When taxpayers pay for construction projects in whole or in part with public funds, since redevelopment agency is gone, this is covering the loophole for this prevailing wage coverage. I think it's important for us to understand that this is a state issue and it's going to affect us locally, and what we say is also going to affect. So just be aware.
There's a motion by Mr. Kennedy and a second by Mr. Negretti. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? None opposed. Motion carries unanimously.
Item D8, payment of sewer connection fees to the Victor Valley Wastewater Reclamation Authority, BVWRA. Madam Clerk, read the recommendation. D8.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we-
Okay,
we
that's
did-
right. We took it.
Yeah, we
My
did for
mistake.
7. Yeah.
The recommendation is that the City Council authorize the payment of connection fees generated from Service Territory A in the amount of $1,435,970.33.
As the VVWRA representative, I will make the motion that we send those funds.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kennedy, second by Mr. Negretti. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? None opposed. Motion carries unanimously.
Item D9, presentation of proposed City Council policy, guidelines, and procedures for issuance of ceremonial recognition items. Madam Clerk, you can read the recommendation.
The recommendation is that the City Council approve the City Council policy as presented.
Question. Do we currently have a policy on this of any kind?
We do not.
Seems pretty comprehensive to me. I'll move approval.
As a point of privilege, I like to make comments on this particular item that the mayor has submitted. And before I do that, Carol Lee, you submitted these ceremonial lists. And as I was looking through them, the nonprofit organizations, I wanted to see what the percentage was that we've been recognizing nonprofit organizations or businesses, particularly the nonprofit, smaller businesses. I don't really see, nothing catches my eye. So I don't know if you look at this, if you can kind of glance and tell me what it is that I'm reading here.
This is just a very general list of the various presentations that have been presented since 2014. So this is a very general description. There's not a lot of detail here. So as far as your question about percentages of presentations to nonprofit organizations, I have not analyzed that at all.
Okay.
So this is just a very general list.
So I don't see anything done for 2017, but like you said, it's not very comprehensive. And I'm going to dare to say that I've already recognized a couple of individuals when the mayor wasn't able to be there, or whoever the person that she wanted to go wasn't available. So I went ahead and volunteered. In volunteering to provide recognition of nonprofit organizations that I've seen that do highly for our community in the high desert, I was also able to recognize the college for what it is that they were building. They serve nearly 10,000 students in the high desert, and I was recognizing another organization, but this certificate never came through. The mayor decided it wasn't proper to give this particular recognition, and so if anybody wants to Google, it's another level for women, and what they do is basically they help you pay your bills if you're in a rut. They do a lot: literacy, financial planning, anything that the community needs. They're there for the high desert. So when I was reading the proposal of only, the word only was a little scary for me. So I went ahead and prepared for that.
Madam Mayor, it seems to me that the important issue here is that when the city of Victorville...
Would the chair admonish, it's my time to speak at the moment, and I have not finished.
Wait, but
That's at a point of privilege, and I am right now speaking, so with the chair, please admonish.
It's his turn.
It's Robert's Rules of Orders. That's all I'm doing.
we need to close this meeting.
So I'll continue. So to the legal counsel, I'm sorry. This is not the way it's supposed to be. I am using Robert's Rules of Order in conjunction with Rosenberg's order. So when I asked to please admonish the chair, it was my turn of speaking. I expected the chair to be able to do that. But thank you very much. And so would the chair please admonish?
It's up to the chair. I'm not the chair.
Okay, so then the attorney. So you would be the attorney that would be admonishing
No, the attorney
my
does not preside over the meeting. The chair presides over the meeting.
Seems to me the important issue here is that when the city of Victorville is issuing a recognition, a proclamation, a certificate, it's a statement from the city council. It's not a statement from the staff. It's a statement from the council. The mayor is our elected representative, and the mayor is the person who should have, if not the ultimate control, the first say in how these things are handled. If there's a disagreement, any council member can bring an issue to the council, and we'll hear it. But I think this is absolutely the purview of the mayor. I like the policy, and I think I made a motion to approve it.
Second.
I'd like to make it.
Like I said, as a point of privilege, I had the floor. I'm sorry, but you guys didn't elect the mayor. It was elected between us. You guys elected each single one of us to represent your voice. The mayor was not voted at large. So we are trying not to give her full power, as in the community speaks, but my colleagues are wanting to give her full force. And so all I'm trying to do is, as I was speaking, continue the conversation. So what I was going to say to legal counsel, is there language in the charter saying that a council member from the city cannot recognize any businesses? Andre, is there anything in the charter that says that the city cannot recognize any businesses, yes or no?
The charter does not cover that issue at all.
Okay, and there is no motion, right?
There is a motion. I heard a motion to call the question by Councilmember Kennedy. Is there a second for that?
And as a point of privilege, I asked to continue my conversation.
A motion to call the question can cut off debate and have a vote on whether or not the motion passes.
To point to privilege, I have the right to speak. So I'll continue. So, all right. Then I'll continue to recognize individuals, businesses, organizations, and the community that's doing great. I need to point out how ridiculous this policy is, trying to stop a community from being recognized for the efforts that they're doing to make Victorville a city of progress, opportunity, and a future. Really? Do we not have anything in the city of Victorville that the council cannot focus on? Lack of police, lack of fulfilled contracts with the San Bernardino County Department.
5-minute recess.
We have crimes in Elevado. We have murders.
Please ready yet.
I don't believe the meeting's been called back to order yet.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. I'm on item D10. That's the one we just completed.
We're on item D9. There is a motion and a second, I believe, to approve the policy.
Okay.
There's a motion by Mr. Kennedy and a second by Mr. Negretti to approve the policy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
That was D9, correct?
Yes, that was D9.
Okay, so I move on to
D10. Mm-hmm.
Item D10, update to City Council spending policy. Madam Clerk, read the recommendation.
There is no recommendation on this item, Mayor Garcia. It is at the direct discretion of the council.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, may I address this item?
Yes, please.
Some time ago, back in 2009, I asked the City Council to do away with reimbursing expenses unless they were absolutely required. It's very common for elected officials from other cities to go to meetings and run very high expenses. I didn't feel the city could afford it. And we actually canceled all meetings with the exception of those that required the council person to attend, such as Measure I, Sandbag, League of California Cities, if the individual was on a policy committee, and effectively nobody turned in an expense account. Credit cards were turned in, and the city stayed into that kind of difficult financial position 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13. We eased it a little bit. And recently the question was, what about the council being involved in different committees, being involved to represent the city? And it was raised because there appeared to be representation from Adelanto, Hesperia, Apple Valley on the various committees, and it was stated that there were the absence from representatives from the city of Victorville, largest city in the Victor Valley, and that in fact the council have been asked to sit on different committees and have done so, but they have paid for it themselves and not turned in expense accounts for the most part. I suggested that if city council members were going to represent the city of Victorville, they should get reimbursed because they're representing the public and they're representing the largest city in the valley. When I made an inquiry about the spending policy, I found that the official policy was way back in '93 and it had never been updated. And the question was, should it be updated or should it stay the way it is since it hadn't been enforced? Now, anytime you have a policy that's 23 years old, it ought to be looked at. I do believe that individuals should attend on behalf of the city or organizations they belong to, and I do believe that the city council should be reimbursed when they have an expenditure acting on behalf of the public and in official capacity. The reason that this policy was adopted in '93 to begin with was the fact that we had elected officials going to meetings where they did not represent the city, but they were turning in requesting to be reimbursed. And I could give you several examples. I won't go into it. This needs to be updated. I asked that the policy be updated. I thought it would be really simple. And I don't see that it's complicated at all, but it's up to the city council. Now, remember, this isn't to adopt anything. The question to the city council is, do you want to update the city council spending policy? If you do not, then policy number CP 93-5 is in effect and remains in effect. If you do, then it's up to the staff with council input to the staff to update the policy, submit it back to the council for discussion and denial, amendment, or approval at a later date. That was my request. That's my only request.
I make a motion.
Well, I need to speak. It's my turn to speak. I also would like to be recognized. I am one of the speakers that like to speak on the items.
I'm speaking right at the moment.
Just give me the opportunity.
I'm speaking right at the moment, please. I make the motion.
Before you make a
Policy
motion, you have to
number
have discussion.
CP.
It's called deliberation. You don't understand that process? Before you make a motion, second and third, you're shutting me down already.
The motion is made first, it's seconded, and then discussion follows.
You have discussion, then you make the motion to move on.
No, that's not how Robert's rules work.
You can technically do it either way. It's up to the presiding officer. Typically, you make a motion,
Well, this
you
is the move
second
they're
it, and then if there's a motion on the floor and a second, then the presiding officer calls for debate.
And what does the third person do? Immediately off, and they cut me off. So before they make the motion, I'd like to speak. I like to be recognized as an individual as well.
Well, I'll second the motion. I'll second the motion with the understanding that a council member wants to address the item.
Thank you. Thank you. So what you guys don't have in front of you is the policy, and the policy says that it's $1,200. That's not a lot for the year. $1,200 for the year, and it would exclude one League of California cities. That's not a lot, right? So, but let me look at history. In 2014, city council travel expenditures, $4,000, $779.54. That's in 2014 when each of them are in office, right? I'm not in office yet. Mr. James Kennedy spends $1,579. Hey, what happened? Their policy said not to exceed $1,200. Okay, so are we, what is happening? I just went to a council meeting and I asked for reimbursement of $231 for something that is mandatory for me to go. So I went there, right? $231. Well, I spent that and I got it back. In 2015, city council travel expenditures, now they weren't $4,000, now they're $5,841.48. That's 2015. 2015 city council travel expenditures. I'm not going to be pointing out names now. Now I'm just going to address city council expenditures. In 2016, it's $10,337.11. Okay, now my question is every single agenda item because I'm doing something? Did I raise the budget for some reason? What is going on here?
Finished?
I am, thank you.
Well, it seems to me you just gave an excellent reason why we need to revisit this.
Well, if we're concerned with money, just leave it at 1,200, right? We don't need to up it or even go lower.
Well,
That's good enough. $10,000 has already been spent. Nobody's aligning the people that spent this money, and no one knows. I didn't even know this till it came on the agenda.
I think that if you look at the airplane cost, when we send people, we recently have an issue. We had to send people to Washington, D.C. I didn't go. We had an issue where we sent people to Sacramento. I didn't go. But what you could get an airplane ticket in '93 and today is so not even compared. It's, I don't know, I'd have to ask staff, but it's 400, 500, 600% more. Therefore, if the individuals did the very same thing today that they did then, they're going to far exceed this amount of money. And for individuals that we ask to go to Sacramento or go to Washington, D.C., or go to the league meeting or whatever, we need to reimburse those individuals. We need to do it fairly based on actual cost. Now, one item that surprised me in this council policy, hotel and travel accommodations may be made by the city staff or council member. My only suggestion is that we change it where it shall be made by the city, because I specifically remember not an elected official, but a member of the staff that made their own accommodations and then took their airfare miles personally. I felt it was wrong at the time. I still feel it's wrong. If the city is going to require an elected or appointed official to represent us, the city shall make the staff accommodations. I think it's fair. I think it's reasonable. I think that way the public dollar is protected. So, all I'm asking, without a dollar amount, because there's been no analysis on this, there's been no staff input, but there's a lot of changes that have been made. It is unfair to ask your elected representatives, whomever they are, to go and then ask them to pay their own way. I do it because I want to. But I don't expect the other council members to do that. It's not fair. So we need a policy that's reasonable. We need a policy that can be defended by each and every one of us. I'm merely asking that you look at it. I didn't come up with any numbers. That's the only question here. And
I'd like to suggest we refer to staff and ask them to come up with some reasonable updated amounts for this policy. I don't really care what we do.
Yeah, there's well, you don't turn expense accounts. I don't either, but it's not fair to all the people to do that.
I don't either, so we really don't turn in any
but
receipts.
some people have to, and I think it's unfair to expect them to expend money out of their pocket for city business, especially when we ask them to go someplace in official capacity.
But not be reimbursed if they go on their own.
Well, no, even whether you had a policy or not, you can't do that. But it needs to be addressed. Therefore, there's a motion and a second. I call for the question.
Just to clarify before a vote's taken, so essentially the motion, the second, is to refer to staff to modify this to maybe modernize it based on
maybe look
costs.
at some other cities, see what other cities are doing.
Yeah, and then bring it before the council so we can make a decision.
Just looking for clarity at this point, so we know what we're being directed to do.
Weren't we concerned about the increase in our the increase of us putting weight on the budget? What is the problem with 1,200 per year?
The motion has been made already. They will give us
I'd like to
information.
answer that. As I pointed out, the cost for the hotel room, the cost for the meals, the cost for the airfare is so dramatically changed, it simply needs to be updated. I'm not asking that it be anything other than reasonable. I'm just asking, but I am just asking to look at it. That's it.
Thank you.
Call for the question.
Garcia, and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Cox. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? None opposed. Motion carries unanimously.
Item D11, discussion and possible action regarding censure process. And I do have some cards. I'll let Danny Garcia come up first.
My name is Danny Garcia. I'm a citizen from Rancho Cucamonga, born in the U.S. And the reason I'm here is because I heard about this meeting taking place. I've known Blanca for a while. I'm not involved too heavily in your local politics, but I do think that it's embarrassing for a city like Victorville to have something like this happening. It's unpatriotic. It's undemocratic. She was elected. You have to respect the fact that she has votes behind her. She has a voice, and the reason she's sitting next to you is because there are people behind her who want her to represent them and want to hear what she has to say. I know it's an inconvenience. I know some people probably wanted the beautification on the golf course today. You know, everybody's got their own individual reasons, their own alignments with other people. Perhaps she took your buddy's position. Perhaps she doesn't align with you with your politics. She has a lot of apparently people that are not so friendly to this council showing up. This is my first time showing up to Victorville City Council, and I am shocked that you have this type of divide. There's no reason as to why Hispanic members of your local city government society have to walk in and be asked if their signs are spelled correctly. That just tells me the type of energy that you guys are dealing with in your city, and it doesn't shed positive light on what's happening here and what's being done to her. That's pretty much all I have to say. All I can tell you is that I know that her intentions are pure. She may not have the experience or wisdom that some of you may have or may pretend to have, but it's really important that you do understand that your constituents are different than hers. She's here to do a job, and that needs to be respected above all else. A city council is not supposed to be a uniform voice. Having dissenting opinions is what makes any organism grow. If you guys want to stay stagnant just behind one opinion, behind one side of policy, behind one side of politics, then you guys need to just create a totalitarian small city government, because that's what this sounds like. You shouldn't have elections if people are going to be stomped down or suppressed when they start speaking up for the people that normally do not have a voice. That's all I have. Thank you.
Refrain from clapping. It's not allowed. We're in a meeting. Okay? Let's show respect. Next one is Ana Gonzalez.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council, and audience here and at home. My name is Ana Gonzalez. I am a community advocate, an educator, and a businesswoman. I am here today to speak in support of Blanca Gomez. Since Ms. Gomez got elected in November, there has been tension against Ms. Gomez. Council has singled out Ms. Gomez and is seen as an outsider because she speaks on behalf of the community and asks questions to better inform that community. The council is considering censuring Ms. Gomez, and that is simply uncalled for, unprofessional, and unconstitutional by the member requesting it. Censure should be reserved for extreme actions, not for speaking up and having different views. Thousands of voters requested Ms. Gomez, for Ms. Gomez to be a member and as their representative when they elected her. Therefore, censure will not only censure Ms. Gomez, but censure those constituents she represents. There was a woman murdered last week at the nearby park, and the affected family probably wonders why. Why is the council more concerned about bullying a council member rather than finding ways to make the city less dangerous or finding jobs, improving infrastructure, creating streams of revenue for the city services, and increasing the number of police in the city to make it less dangerous? Censuring a council member who cares for her community and is daily active finding ways of recognizing and helping her community is simply not right. It will be a shame for the council to approve something so petty, unconstitutional, and undemocratic. I hope the council fails this action and not only allow Ms. Gomez to continue to speak for her community, but also for those who voted for her. Please stop the bullying and be better role models for the community you represent. For those holding the signs asking Ms. Gomez to resign, the community asks that you stop the harassment and bullying towards people that have different views than yours. This country is built on diversity. This is the land of opportunity and freedom. It is not the land for one race. This is a country that believes in justice for all, not justice for some. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and I pray and hope you make the right decision.
I mean it. No more clapping. Otherwise, I think I am going to just have those people removed. Next person is Robin. What is it? Okay.
Say I support this procedure. It's a discussion and a possible action. And I am just saying I support that. And also, I would remind the city council, body politic, and the members that we have freedom of speech in our country. Freedom to object to elected officials, and that's what makes our nation great. This is not Cuba. This is not Venezuela. This is America, and you are free to speak your thoughts. Thank you.
Raul Rodriguez.
Okay, I'd like to say that I support D11. I think it's important that when people are out of order, especially those that are clapping when they shouldn't, then there needs to be law and order. People need to obey the law, especially those that cross the border illegally. They are lawbreakers. So, Blanca, you read the sign. I'm asking you, resign or face recall. It's up to you. Make the choice. Now, it's important that we, as Americans, we have a right. We have a constitution. That constitution gives us a right to hold a sign because we're not happy with her performance as a councilman or woman of this city. She's not doing a very good job. She stacked the house tonight. Can you tell? She brought people from probably out of the city, and they're here with their signs, and they're probably not even from the city. Now, she's even has a reporter from another city, and he's here reporting for the La Opinión, which is a Hispanic or Mexican newspaper, and they're going to be on her side because that's what they do. La Raza, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to infiltrate this city council and our country. We need to stop that. So remember that we need to, and those of you that are watching this out there, you need to remember you have the right to be here. Please attend these meetings so that you can put Blanca Gomez on notice. We don't want you as a city councilwoman in the city of Victorville because you are not doing the right thing. You're speaking for only your side. You're not speaking for everybody. You're not speaking for all Americans. All Americans.
I'm going to have you people removed.
Please do not interrupt me. I have the right to speak. My time is still running. So, Blanca, you have a choice. Resign or face a recall. It's
Go
up
ahead.
to you, and we will do it. So, you make the choice. So, once again, I want to thank you for allowing me to exercise my First Amendment right. Because of this Constitution, we have the right to speak our mind and hold a sign up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Earl. You're not even from my city. You're from Apple Valley yourself.
Blanca, I have to warn you, you're out of order again, but you don't want to understand that. Go ahead and laugh. Go ahead and laugh. Your day is coming. Dean,
Oh, my day is coming. Did you catch that? My day is coming.
Dean DeLeon, or Leah, Dean Leah.
Blanca, you know how I feel about you. Okay, I've already told you how I felt about you. Very immature lady. And trying to play to an audience. You shouldn't try to do that. That shows you immaturity. I'm here to support D11. I believe in D11 because of people like you. You need to mature, grow up a bit, learn the Brown Act if you don't know it. You can go to the library in San Bernardino, law library in San Bernardino, and your pals out here can go too and find out what they're supposed to be doing with the Brown Act. It was enacted, I think, in the 50s. My parents were part of it. I know what's going on. And they worked hard to get this enacted. And I'm going to support it completely. Now, I wasn't born in Victorville, but I've been living here for 10 years. I know Victorville. And by the way, I like the golf courses in Victorville. I wouldn't have been coming up here if I didn't have a view of a golf course. Gives me a view. And my oldest daughter lived here. So I came up here to be with her. And my youngest daughter's now here. Practically my whole family that stayed in California are up here. And I do not want to have to run away from California because of people like you. I'm here to fight. I'm also an activist. I'm an activist all over Southern California. But I will become a real tough activist here in Victorville if I keep running into this. So it's time for you to resign. And if you don't resign, you're stubborn. I can see that. But that's important. Be stubborn. An American is stubborn. And that's why we have the country we have, because of our stubbornness. But you've got to follow the laws and the rules that we've put down for everybody to follow, including the Brown Act. We will recall you, and we're in the process of working this out right now. And I don't think you want to be recalled. Thank you.
Thank
You can
you.
follow us to the library.
According to the Brown Act, she's not supposed to be replying to me right now.
Not, but I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay. Matthew Emerson.
Hello, how are you doing this evening? My name is Matthew Emerson. I'm here on behalf of the ACLU Southern California, and I'm here in solidarity with Blanca Gomez for her right as an elected official to speak out against what you guys are lacking on doing for the city. And I just want to make people aware that are spouting the Constitution covers everybody in this country, not just citizens. That includes undocumented people, and we need to understand that. This isn't an elitist club. For what is more important to the city of Victorville, a beautiful golf course or public works? What is more important? Do you want after school programs for your kids, or do you want a pretty golf course to look at? Because can those kids even access that golf course? Are there even opportunities for low-income families at that golf course? Can they even afford to golf at this golf course? How many people in the city of Victorville actually golf at that golf course? These are just, and I'm not from Victorville. I'm going to be completely honest with you, but I live in Lancaster. But what affects one part of the high desert affects the other. And she was elected by the people You were not. And that needs to be respected. You know, this isn't Gloria Garcia's Cool Kids Club. This is the city of Victorville. The city of Victorville voted in Blanca Gomez, and people need to respect that. And she may not agree with all of you politically, and that's fine. That's the beauty of America. But she's on point. She knows what she's talking about, and people, you know, like you inspire me to run for local offices where I live, because we have to break up this corruption. This is my first time at a city of Victorville, city council meeting. You guys have a much more nicer city hall than we do in Lancaster, so I do applaud you on that. But it's a shame. It's a shame that the democratic process is not being respected. And I applaud you, Blanca, for standing up for your beliefs, regardless of the bullying that you're receiving, that I'm seeing, just from these people that don't understand what being an American is. And that's all I have to say.
Bill Thomas.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and the members of the City Council, staff, and of course citizens. My name is Bill Thomas. I am a resident of the City of Victorville, and I oppose D11.
Mr. Negretti is...
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, never mind.
Madam Clerk, read the recommendation so they understand.
There is no recommendation at this time. Any action is at the discretion of the City Council.
Just for the public's benefit.
Mayor, I feel compelled to point out every single one of us sitting on this dais was elected. Every one of us. By the people. We all represent all the people. The fact that we don't agree on things is, hey, not having a discussion. I'm just telling you, we're all elected.
Yes. Okay. I was elected by the people, and I got the highest votes. So
Levias got the highest votes too, and she wasn't mayor.
Oh, Mr. Negretti.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, just to maybe try to bring this back on point. The item before you tonight is not whether or not to censure anybody. Councilmember Negretti asked the city clerk and I to put this item on the agenda to discuss and get information from the city attorney to address that process. This isn't to take an action one way or the other. So I don't know if the public understood that. Maybe they didn't have a chance to read the full agenda item, but that was the intent as expressed to me, which is why we put it on the agenda, was to discuss that process. So just wanted to bring it back to that.
That is correct. And at this point, the city does not have any formal policy on censure. Several cities do, and I don't think there's at this point any desire, well, I don't know if there is a desire or not to censor anybody. I think the item was put on whether or not the city wants to consider adopting some policies with respect to censure. A lot of cities have them. In order to censure somebody, obviously, it's better to have kind of rules and regulations to determine if that person is actually violating those rules and regulations. The city right now is governed by Rosenberg's Rules of Order. That requires decorum and courtesy. You also have actually an adopted resolution on the city council regarding the conduct of council members. However, I would call those policies not as strong as perhaps they should be, and if there is at some point in the future a desire to censure somebody, then I would suggest that the council consider perhaps tightening some of the rules and regulations regarding the conduct of meetings, and if that is in fact the desire of the council, and also to perhaps consider a policy of censure. I can look into those items, I can make them, and then it's a discussion at the council. There's no, as far as I'm aware at this point, there's no discussion about censoring anybody directly at this point. But again, I was asked to look into it. You do not have a policy on censure right now. You have, I would call, somewhat vague and not as tight as I would like them in terms of rules of conduct and decorum. And perhaps, this meeting is an example of the need to tighten some of those rules and regulations. And then, depending on how the council reacts with that, you can consider a policy of censure as well.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, I have some comments. I ask that this item be put on the agenda because when I got elected in 2014 all the way up until 2016, I've witnessed this council consistently work in the true spirit of teamwork to address many complex issues on behalf of the city of Victorville. I'd like to take a moment to thank the entire city staff. I cannot single out everybody that's doing a great job all the time. I just know that you guys are doing a great job. I would also like to thank former Councilmember Ryan McCachran, Councilmember Kennedy, Mayor Pro Tem Cox, and Mayor Garcia for their tireless efforts, steadfast dedication, and valorous commitment, which contributed immeasurably to the overall success of the city to date. Unfortunately, over the past few months, this council has been distracted from our solemn duty to serve the residents of Victorville by the conduct of Councilmember Gomez. Before we can discuss and focus on the business of the city at each meeting, we are first subjected to the unprofessional, unproductive, and petty conduct Ms. Gomez has displayed at every single
As a point
meeting
of privilege, I like to take the opportunity to defend myself.
The
and I'm
council,
using Robert's
and today
Rosenberg's
was
rules.
no exception. Well done. The constant whining and disrespectful behavior Ms. Gomez exhibits seems to be based on the incorrect assumption that we need to meet with her, shake her hand, and never push back on any of her naive and misguided ideas. The fact is that we're not required to get along. Ms. Gomez will have to learn to work with her fellow council members in order to get anything done. Blaming others for her ineffective style is no excuse. Ms. Gomez plainly states that she doesn't have a job, and it appears she has no experience working well with others either. When you have successful and positive experience working with people, you learn very quickly how to be part of a team to achieve mutual success. It is clear to me that Ms. Gomez has no interest in being part of a team, but would rather focus on insignificant disruptions where she is more comfortable. Ms. Gomez sitting in the mayor's chair while refusing to move at our last meeting and stating the age of council members was a possible reason for disagreements was a new low. There is no debate on this kind of conduct. This is bullying. The fact is that Ms. Gomez's conduct isn't appropriate for a professional meeting where courtesy and decorum are expected, and I see what happened tonight. We are talking about censure today because this council has the ability to make an official statement of disapproval of Ms. Gomez's conduct. It would be up to the council to determine what to do next if this conduct continues. So the question I have for the council today is, would the council like a policy on censure, conduct, and decorum?
So I'd like to make comments too. I was not a part of the discussion for censorship. Was this like a Brown Act violation that occurred? Was there a quorum? It appears that there was a meeting. My colleagues can't just blindside me and bring what violations to the table. This council is not in office to just rubber stamp because it wouldn't be transparent. If my colleagues have a right to censor me, do I have the right to censor them and make it an agenda item? Censure. Why censure? Is this a formal public reprimand for an infraction or a violation? To council, Andre, was there a formal or an informal infraction or a violation that you were addressed with prior to now? Am I being reprimanded for sitting in my colleague's chair during closed session? Wearing a city pin to another city? I'm not aware of any Brown Act violation. I request to see that grievance procedure if there is one in this case. I haven't disclosed any secrets. You don't have a clear ground on what violations were done. Andre?
It's up to the mayor if she wants me to
Were
respond.
they
I am not prepared to make that statement at this moment. I will wait until we are prepared.
So First Amendment rights prevail, right? I am a legally voted in official, and my colleagues cannot censor me with a council policy. I am flabbergasted to know that any political elected official in Victorville would dare to shut the voices of our unborn grandchildren, your daughters and sons who have not yet been born. How dare you attack the voices of your great-grandchildren? This is an attack on our First Amendment right, and I will continue to defend that. Everyone in this room took the same oath. I know about some beautiful programs and a lot of efforts put into them by our own city employees that have been in the works. And we're talking about this. As everyone in this room, we all have a freedom of speech. If council policy prevails today and the censorship passes, I will be bringing a lawsuit. That behavior is fascist and undemocratic. This is not Trump's America. This is America, and you still have to hear the voices of the community. This is ridiculous. I asked that the attorney take this off the calendar. We just had a death at Hook Park, not even 15 minutes from this city hall, and we're discussing censorship because I'm not liked. The city is running the risk of getting a lawsuit that the city does not want. As a point of privilege, I asked to table this for a future agenda. I have not had enough time to consult with a personal attorney, and I do need to speak to a private legal counsel before you threaten my legal First Amendment right and due process.
I said don't.
I would like to.
I'm going to have you removed. I'll have you removed.
I'd like to suggest that we. I'd like to suggest that we refer this item to the city attorney, see what else is done in other cities, if it's appropriate to have a policy, what other cities do. I'm not particularly interested in breaking new ground, but that would be my suggestion. You want a motion? Do we need a motion?
Don't really
Second
need a motion,
that.
need a consensus, but you have a motion and a second, that is better.
Have a motion and a second.
And a second?
Ms. Gomez, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? None opposed. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, now we are moving on to public comments.
Oh, no, they were on number 12.
I know we get so distracted with all this beautiful. Okay, I do have some cards. I'll start calling them out. Madam Clerk, please read the statement one more time so they're aware that they have the 3 minutes.
This is the time and place for the general public to address the City Council on any item listed or not listed on the agenda. Per Government Code Section 54954.3, state law prohibits the Council from addressing any issue not previously included on the agenda. The Council may receive testimony and set the matter to a subsequent meeting. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes per individual or less as deemed necessary by the mayor, depending upon the number of individuals desiring to speak. All communications are to be addressed directly to the council, not the members of the audience. This is a professional business meeting, and courtesy and decorum are expected. Please refrain from any debate between audience and speaker, making loud noises, or engaging in any activity which might be disruptive to the decorum of the meeting.
Thank you. I will start with card number 1, Ramiro Rodriguez.
Good evening, good afternoon. My name is Ramiro Rodriguez. I'm a citizen here for the city of Victorville. First of all, I'd like to address the council for your job you guys are doing very well as far as one can see on our point. But to me, I'm a businessman. I have houses, my sons have houses, and we pay taxes. And one of the things we want to see is where our money is going, how it's getting accommodating how the plans are getting done, how the bids are gotten to, the changing of the zoning from major industrial from commercial to major industrial. What is the process? Who actually instigated that? What's going to happen if it doesn't proceed? As my run for planning commissioner, I don't care whether I'm this side or that side of the council. It still has to be answered. We need to know who are the people that are going to benefit from all these plans for $4 or $5 million. We need to know also the bidding process. How was that bid obtained? Who obtained it? What was the process? That's all we're asking for. That's all we really want to know. A lot of the people, when I was in the process to become planning commission, they tell me, these people decided within 3 minutes already of the plan. They read they already been there for 12 years. In 3 to 4 minutes, they already decide. But shouldn't you think about it? Why is their mind already made up? And what I'm talking about is Joe Citizen, me, citizen here at Victorville. We just want accountability. That's all. What's happening up there? We have the rights to be heard. We have the right to speak. As a recall, I see 15% white here in Victorville, 17% black, and the population is 53% Hispanic. And I think we are just being represented, and what hasn't been used to being happening here for a while, we have a voice now. We're actually speaking out. There's all sorts of threats against any Hispanic. It's now seems proper to actually discriminate, to call you illegal, to look down on you just because you're an immigrant, whether you are or not. Like this gentleman said from ACLU, it covers everybody, the Constitution, not just the citizens, not just the people who were born here. Everybody. That's the beauty of this country. That's the beauty of the Constitution. And me as a citizen, all we're asking about is accountability. And we kind of figure that this councilwoman is actually giving us a little bit more of an insight of what's happening in the background. That's all. Thank you very much.
Next, I have Maggie Martha.
Good evening, Your Honor. I can't hear. Am I on? Okay. I was going to speak on.
I'm not hearing you.
Me neither. No, I am.
Oh, good.
So, good evening, Your Honor and council members. I was going to speak on some traffic issues, but I think I'm going to talk to our city manager about that because I heard something that sparked my interest. I just want to be clear about several things. One of them is, since Ms. Gomez was elected, I've been to every single council meeting, I believe, but one. Whereas these other people who are here in support of her, I've never seen them before. I'm not saying they weren't here, but as a group, I've never seen any of them here before. That said, San Bernardino County is about 57% Hispanic. So let's just be clear, I'm in the minority, not them. I'm a minority in my own community where I've resided for 19 years. Excuse me. And Ms. Gomez, you're over there, and I'd appreciate it if you'd have the common courtesy to look at me when I speak, because if you don't, that just speaks to your lack of integrity. But Ms. Gomez, here's the reason, if you didn't hear it from Councilman Negrete, that you're so called allegedly being bullied. It has nothing to do with experience. It has to do with your inability to represent all the people of all races in this city. The people have spoken here tonight that don't live here, I don't care about what they have to say, quite frankly. But I'm telling you, you're not here because of lack of intelligence. You're not wanted here because you do not have respect for the members of your council and this mayor. You do not conform to the decorum, and you don't know how to restrain yourself. And I'll tell you, I'm a hothead unlike anyone you've ever known, and I can manage to restrain myself when I'm speaking before this council. And the emails that I've sent you, anyone who would have gotten that would have left Dodge quite some time ago. But you don't have common sense, like my dad said. The common sense God gave Daffy Duck in plain English. Plain English. So I support censure. I support recall. I support finding somebody who's more fit mentally, educationally, and socially than Ms. Gomez. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. Joe Fukuda? Fukuda? After him, it will be Scott Thimble.
So does the microphone work, or are you going to cut me off? Okay. So, welcome to Victorville. You have a greenie here. Okay. My name's Joe Fichetti. I own a lot of property in California and other states. But this is where my home is, and I have a pretty wonderful life. Why did I remove the Victorville? I wonder. Okay, I'm a medical engineer. I have hundreds of people under me. I'm retired now. But I had a person, Walter Gladney, in Anaheim Hospital, and he was a greenie too. And he was just a beginner. Well, 7:30 in the morning, I got a call from the hospital. The entire intensive care went down, coronary care went down. 24 patients, high risk of losing their life. He panicked. He didn't know what to do. He was green, you know, but I didn't put my thumb on and squash him. I said, just go to the unit. Just go. Be my eyes and ears. I'm on the way. The police are escorting me. Just tell me what's going on. Be my eyes. Okay? He was scared to death. I don't know how to do surgery. I don't know how to do this. I don't know what happens if somebody dies. How am I going to bring it back? I said, just go. It's all about the teamwork. And I didn't put him down because he didn't know what he was doing. Neither did those 24 patients and those cares, under the care in that hospital care, that he wasn't credentialed and experienced. He saved their life. He was a greenie. He didn't do things right. He didn't know all the rules and regulations either. But my hand reached out to him and pulled him up. I convinced him to go up there, and it was a big panic situation. He performed wonderful. So did I squash him? No, it's about the team effort. We even had the janitor help. And look at all those patients, and I didn't care, but I got there and got things together, and everybody survived. Okay, so Blanca, yeah, let's just put her out because she didn't sit in your chair. I'll come up and sit in your chair. Believe me, I will. Now, with Blanca, she may be green. I'm reaching my hand out to her to help her learn stuff. She has a good heart. I see that. You don't.
That's 3 minutes.
For me? Well, I'm going to go another 3 minutes.
You're not allowed, sir.
Well,
Get another card and then you'll submit it, and that's fine.
the thing is, I'm going to be behind her back. And I'm going to get her.
Your time
No,
is
I'm
up.
going to give her the support
Your
she
time
needs.
is up.
Yeah, don't hammer on me.
Your time is up.
I don't care.
Your time is up.
Fine. I'm telling
can I have
you,
him removed?
you need to get along. You need to get along.
To have him removed.
If you want to remove me, let's go.
Please remove him.
Okay? Because, remember, I'm going to bite into you real hard.
The next person was Scott Thimble.
I've been homeless before. A couple of you I've worked with. I've gone to events with. I don't know why I'm way off script. Somebody got killed at Hooked Park, and I'm involved with, they call the High Desert Challenger League, a couple hours before. But that's not what I want to talk about. Anyway, my name is Scott Trumbull. I'm part of Your Show. Your Show is a community access, and we got a lot of things that I want to come up with. I was born in San Bernardino. I went to school in Rialto. This city, I've never done this before, from San Bernardino or Rialto. I'm looking at all you guys, not just, I'm looking at everybody. And I'm watching the light, too. There's something I'm going to show council later on that I need each and every one of you to back. You two, come on. There's something that's coming up that the city's going to be, I believe you're going to back, Mayor. I believe you're going to back. I have never done this before in my entire life, and that resume is supposed to go to her. I'm homeless right now. I'm not going to say exactly where I'm staying at. It's not easy being up here. I know it's not easy being there. I'm between your guys' ages. Matter of fact, I'm going to bring this up too. I know Joe Baca Jr. I need, especially Blanca, because what we're going to propose to Rialto that I'll come up with later, I need to have every city come together on what we're going to do. What this is, it's going to bring possibly semi-pro football to the Inland Empire. And I will give you the coach's number, the owner's number later on, because I can't go completely into it. I don't know what's going on. I've never done this before. Eric, I don't know what's going on. How I want to report, I want to sit there and report. I hate seeing what's on YouTube. I hate seeing this. This is all childish to me. Now, I started this Your Show in November. I don't know what you guys are going to do. This has got to stop. It's got to stop. This is childish. I need this city's help. I need the county's help. I need the Inland Empire's help. I'm totally off script. I don't even know what to say. Mayor Garcia, you remember when we were at the homeless shelter and you said anything you want? I would like you two to get along.
Next person, Robin Weiston. After her, Raul Rodriguez.
My name's Robin Vidston, and I am
I'm
with...
sorry, I
that's fine.
mispronounced it.
That's
I-
no problem.
Okay.
I'm with We the People Rising, and I'm also a member of the Overpass group that does the political rallies on Bear Valley. I'm part of Deanne Delene's group. And I've always found this city very beautiful. Beautiful sunrises, beautiful sunsets in Victorville. But on that same token, it saddens me when I read in the Victor Valley Daily Press, for example, the gang crime that is now in Victorville and throughout this valley. We need elected officials like this body politic to be involved in that issue. And on a second note, I agree with what was said earlier that we have a council member that is unprofessional. And it does impede the city council business. And I do totally support actions that will remedy this. And again, I was one of the people at the Rialto City Council when this council member appeared in her Victorville official badge. And again, we were stunned that she came to another city on a very controversial topic, sanctuary cities, which she still says she does not know what a sanctuary city is. But at any rate, this is just in keeping, I think, with the unprofessional decorum. When you're the general public, when you're the common person, you take a certain behavior. But when you're a city council member, you're held to a different standard. There's protocol, there's rules, and there is the Brown Act. So I am working on the campaign with Victorville residents where we are working to make a change on this city council. Thank you.
Thank you. Raul Rodriguez, and after him, Francis Pion or Pion.
I'd like to speak on a number of issues. Number one is that Alejandro Cona is the newspaper reporter that came here, probably invited by Blanca Gomez to record and film, take pictures, so that he can write an article about what kind of a great job she's doing. Well, it's just the opposite. She's doing a terrible job of representing the American people. You know, I just got back from Sacramento a week ago, and we were there opposing Senate Bill 54. Senate Bill 54 is Kevin De Leon, who's another un-American who wants to promote illegal immigration and sanctuary cities. So they want to make California a sanctuary state. And also on Senate Bill number 6, they want to give legal assistance to illegals. And who's going to pay for it? I guess they want us to pay for it. But you know what? Our president, Donald J. Trump, is going to drain the swamp. He is going to come down on Kevin De Leon, Ricardo Lara, Alex Padilla, and all those who are trying to promote illegal immigration and sanctuary cities. I think it's important that those of you who are watching live call Sacramento and vote, ask them to vote no on this bill. It's important because it's going to go to the Assembly. It's important that they continue to vote no on this bill. It's important because we don't want a sanctuary state, city, whatever. We don't want them. We want them out of here. If these are criminals, these individuals are criminals killing innocent American citizens. So, no, it is not a lie. And please do not interrupt me. So the point I'm making here is that these illegals who are illegally in this country are murdering American citizens. Look up the remembranceproject.org. You'll see the truth. They are murdering American citizens. Please check it out. And also, I just wanted to thank the City Council for standing up to corruption, a speaker who has no morals and no values. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Mayor, that last name is pronounced Pishan.
Pishan?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Well, I would like to say, the last few months I've seen Ms. Gomez at several functions throughout the city. And very seldom have I seen any other board member at any function in the city. Now, she may have done some things wrong, she may have said some things wrong, but I don't think that she or anyone else on the board should be corrected out here. I think the board should take that behind closed doors. And let's give her some backing, some training.
Sir, I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to do this, but this was at her request.
Oh,
She
sorry.
was- It was at her request.
No,
that
this was
we
not at
have
my request.
Transparency, she called it. Go ahead.
Whatever, okay. Where was I?
His time needs to be reallocated because the mayor did take some of his time. We do that to every other person. I don't think he should be excluded for that.
Okay. I'm saying, if any correction that you should give her should be done behind closed doors, because this fighting out here at this board is very irritating, very disgusting, very unprofessional. And basically, that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Okay.
Paul Marsh, and after him, Ron Kagan.
All righty. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for this time. There's a couple of issues that I wanted to kind of address. First of all, my name's Paul Marsh. I've been here all my life, with the exception of a few years that I left when I was in the military. We came out here in 1964, so unlike a lot of other people, I'm a lifelong resident of Victorville, and I am concerned about Victorville. As far as C3, I would hope that you guys would, kind of allocate some of that money to some of the beautification of some of the entryways into Victorville, like the medians that are right off 7th Street that are dried up and dead. I mean, the city looks ugly. When you come in off the freeway, it doesn't look like a progressive city. I have an office here in Victorville. It's right off of 7th Street. It's right off of Green Tree. Okay, now I understand wanting to beautify and clean up the golf course. That's fine. But when I have clients that come in from out of town and they say, man, what kind of city is this? First of all, I take offense to it, but then I start thinking about, where should some of that offense lie? I mean, we're spending money on things. Let's start spending some money on some of the right things. It's a simple fix, if you guys put your heads to it, to fix that median. You guys let the grass die because of the water drought. Okay, so change the median to where it doesn't require so much water. There's simple things that we could do. On the other note, as far as I've heard a lot of conversation this evening about transparency, about censorship. I don't even think that should be a discussion. I came to the last city council meeting that I attended. In the audience, I don't care about listening to who sat in somebody's chair. Discuss that in closed doors. Discuss that amongst yourselves. I'm not here to listen to who sat in whose chair and who sits at the head of the table. I don't care about that. I care about solutions, and sitting in somebody's chair is not a solution. As far as transparency is concerned, give Blanca Gomez the right to speak. She's being transparent, and I appreciate what she is doing, because yes, she is in the community. I've been here a long time. I've seen her more in a short time than I've seen most of you all in a long time. She's involved. She has an energy that's highly appreciated amongst a lot of people in this city. So give her not a chance. She's doing her job. Give her the opportunity and the supporting of fellow professionals like you want her to be. Thank you.
Ron Kagan.
Good evening. My name's Ron Kagan, and I'm from the Antelope Valley, and I'm a board member with the ACLU. And I just want everybody to know that we're here in support of Ms. Gomez. And I look at the board, I turn around and I look at the room, and it seems that from what I see, Ms. Gomez probably represents more of what I see in this room than the rest of the board. Something else. As I mentioned, I'm from the Antelope Valley. I live in Palmdale, and I've never seen such discord in a city council meeting. And we have a very diverse community in Palmdale. We all get along. And sometimes people speak out of turn because they're passionate. And we need to recognize and encourage that passion, because she represents a group of constituents that put her in office, and she's the voice of those constituents. You folks may not want to hear what the constituents have to say that backed Ms. Gomez, but she's here to represent those constituents. Two other points I want to make in short. The young lady that mentioned that she was a minority because she's whatever percent, I have to tell her that you can be 70% of a group and still be a minority if you know anything about sociology. The other comment I'd like to make, the gentleman with the beautiful Trump jacket on mentioned illegals. People are not illegal. People may be undocumented, but by God, they have every right that you do, and I do as citizens before the law. And if Ms. Gomez is the voice of those people, we need to let her speak. And that's all I have to say, and thank you for your time.
Nympha Lara, and then Nercida Fagardo.
Hello, good night, everyone, and my name is Nympha Lara, and I'm here to support Blanca Gomez. I'm part of the community. I work with the community, and I've seen her everywhere participating and always taking the time to talk in sign language because to another audience that she represents here too. And that's all what I have to say. And I'm against the D11.
Nercida Fagardo. Is that Mercida or Nercida? Is she still here? Probably not. Maria Ruiz.
Buenas noches.
Good evening. I'll be translating for.
Ya, porque como no nos ponen un intérprete aquí,
Because there is no interpreter, I have to have somebody interpret.
nosotros estamos apoyando a Blanca, porque Blanca está trayendo un trabajo que muchos de ustedes yo no veo que hagan.
I am here to support Blanca because I see the work that she's doing that many of you are not doing.
No necesitamos más violencia de las que estos señores vienen a promovernos aquí, porque ellos lo único que traen es violencia, y ya tenemos bastante violencia aquí.
We do not need any more violence, as this gentleman behind is promoting violence in here. We have enough violence. There is no need for any more violence in here.
¿Por qué no unirnos todos y trabajar todos juntos y apoyándonos todos para que todo esto suba para arriba como debe de ser?
Why not unite and work together so that everything works properly as it should be?
Cada uno de esos señores están hablando de los indocumentados. Los indocumentados le dan de comer a ellos. Cada que se llevan una comida a su boca van pasando por unas personas latinas que todos somos indocumentados y estamos trabajando.
The gentleman is talking about illegals, undocumented. The undocumented individuals are the ones feeding him. Every time he puts food in his mouth, it comes and has passed through one of the undocumented individuals.
Ya que ellos están aquí nomás promoviendo más violencia, deberían de irse a trabajar al campo allá donde la gente lo necesita.
Instead of being here promoting more violence, they should actually be out in the field working and be doing the job that undocumenteds are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maria Garcia, and then Adam Garcia, I think it is. Maria Garcia.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Adán García.
Good evening, my name is Adam Garcia.
Yo puedo hablar inglés, pero que aquí ya lo haga en inglés. Yo voy a hablar español.
I can speak English, but I'd rather have a translator, and I'll speak in Spanish.
Nosotros vinimos aquí a apoyar a Blanca Gómez.
We came here today to support Blanca Gomez.
Tengo 27 años viviendo aquí,
I have 27 years living in the city,
en Victorville.
in Victorville.
Tengo 2 negocios,
I have 2 businesses.
pago impuestos.
I pay taxes.
En 27 años,
In 27 years,
Blanca Gómez es la única concejal
Blanca Gomez is the only city council
que ha apoyado a la comunidad.
that is supporting the community.
A ninguno de ustedes los he visto con la comunidad.
I have never seen either one of you guys with the community.
Algunos que he visto únicamente van y se sientan y se toman la fotografía con los que tienen dinero.
The few of you that I've seen, I only see them coming to take pictures with the people that have money,
Pero no con la comunidad.
but never with the community.
Por eso a Blanca Gómez la eligió la comunidad.
That is why the community elected Blanca Gomez.
Yo estoy apoyándola a ella y aparte que nos está uniendo a la comunidad en general.
I'm actually supporting her because she's actually uniting the community.
African Americans,
African American,
gente blanca,
Caucasians,
hispanos.
and Hispanic.
Ella tiene mi voto, mi soporte en todo lo que haga en el futuro porque sé que es una gran líder
She has my support, my vote in the future because I know she's a great leader
y una gran concejal.
and a great councilwoman.
Gracias por escucharme.
Thank you for listening.
Gracias.
Next person is Maria Garcia, and after that is Jason Knight.
I hope everyone can see me. I'm so small. My name is Maria Garcia, and I'm here tonight to support Blanca Gomez because ever since I known her, she's been working very, very hard for the community, even late at night. It's been times that I call her at 11 p.m. to ask her questions, and she's there for me. Blanca, go ahead, do your job the way you've been doing it. And thank you very much to everyone. I'm just asking everyone, please let her do her job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, council members, Blanca. Wow, we have a whole host of different opinions and sides of everything. We have individuals who are from ACU or whatever that is, guys from who's speaking Spanish and all sorts of cool stuff, right? Just to mention what you stated, I'm in the African American community, and Blanca Gomez does not support me, and she does not speak on my behalf. Sorry to say. The reason why I'm up here is to state one thing. So, last meeting that we had, we explained a few items regarding the planning.
Jason, I'm sorry, you have to direct.
Okay. A couple of items in regards to the Planning Commission. It was stated pretty much in not so many words of Blanca's incompetence and inability to make a sound decision regarding the Planning Commission. That being said, me, and just so everyone knows, I am a 3-time combat vet, both to Iraq and Afghanistan. I have an MBA in Information Systems Management. I'm 1 course and a dissertation away from my PhD. I'm an engineer for a known Fortune 500 company, and I'm in Army Reserves. Now, that being said, I'm afraid to submit my packet for the Planning Commission to be reviewed by Ms. Blanca Gomez because of her personal qualms that she has with me. That being said, right, in December, she attempted to have someone placed on the Planning Commission, one known Anthony Rhodes, who, and as the rumors go, and I'm not a big rumor mill guy, but the rumors go that she's staying with him at his home in Hesperia. However, the truth of the matter is I've seen her on multiple occasions, not with her PIN, not in professional capacity, but in public personal capacity with this individual in multiple places, to include one, Bruce McGee's big celebration that he had going on, also at J.T. Turner's on a Thursday, as a matter of fact, because it's every Thursday. I know him personally, right? And she's been in personal capacity and been seen multiple times with this individual. That being said, that is an unethical action, trying to put an individual on the Planning Commission who she has personal relations with. So there's only two options right now that'll happen. Either A, you step down as council member, or B, a recall. And those that support the recall, I've already started the process. So that being said, I need 30 signatures. So if anyone wants to sign after this, please get in contact with me. Again, my name is Jason Knight, if anybody needs to know. Thank you. That's all I have, ma'am. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ruth Sanchez.
Good evening, Councilwoman, members, and Mayor. First, I would like to say I've been to many city councils from Sacramento to San Diego, and I'm disgusted today with what I see here. I'm not going to say that this is how you behave, but it's maybe something that happened today. One thing I want to say to Councilmember Negrete, I do agree with you that Councilwoman Gomez is young. I'm a lot younger than you are. I'm a business owner. I'm a state delegate. I'm an assembly delegate. I'm a community organizer. And I'm a property owner as well. So age has nothing to do with the job that we all have to do. She may have made mistakes. I'm not here to deny the mistakes. You might want to get a drink of water, gentlemen, over there. But anyways, I'm not here to disagree that she may have made mistakes. But I think that you need to, as being the older mayor, need to embrace that and talk to her and let her know, maybe we can do these things. Okay. However, what I can tell you is I've seen her out in the community with the homeless. I've seen her in the community with veterans. Okay. I work with the veterans in the Valley. In LA. I go every month and feed the veterans, so I know what they need. I'm a mother of a Marine, so I know exactly what they're going through. I haven't seen none of you guys are in the community, and she is speaking for the community. The community is here, and you guys are elected by the community, so therefore you have to answer to us, all of you, not just Mrs. Gomez, but each one of you. So if she's going to be censored, who's going to censor you guys? Because I saw disrespect by Mayor today. I saw disrespect by Councilmember Negrete by calling her unprofessional and himself being unprofessional here. Okay, another thing that I want to say is, if you guys want to recall her, I am very good organizer. I can also organize and get recalls on you guys. But that's not the answer. The answer is let's work together, because you guys have better things to worry about than a traffic light. And trust me, that is very important. But we have other more important things than spending $350,000 on a traffic light when we don't have the after-school programs that are needed to prevent any more violence. And then the city of Victorville is very famous for violence. Thank you.
Did you submit a card? I thought you did. Yeah, no, you can come up.
So if anyone wants to submit a card, quieren someter tarjetas, todavía estamos
So that being said, one bad apple spoils the bunch. And that goes for a couple of comments that was stated about unity, right? So you can't have unity. And being a member of a team, I am a member of the ultimate team, the Army. right? The Army Reserves, as a matter of fact. And we all know that in order for a team to work, everybody needs to work on the exact same page. That being said, the council members cannot work together if you have one individual constantly undermining what they're doing, okay? That being said, as far as the community goes, where's she at? As far as the community goes, I am known to work in the community. I go out every single month helping the homeless, and not once have I seen Blanca Gomez out there. Not once. She takes opportunity photos, opportunity time to go out to the pretend community, only to the individuals that she wants to go out to, take pictures, post it to her page, and make it look like she's actually doing something. So that being said, she's not for the community, and I know that for a fact. And that being said, that's all I have, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Scott Tremble? Or Thimble? Tremble.
I want to submit it before what we talked about was to bring up the football part. In the community are the coaches that have 30 years experience in football. And I think, like I said before, I think would be a great opportunity because I'm going to go back to, I'm going to go to Rialto. Rialto, I have a friend of mine, David Lang, that played a couple years ago. We are trying to get his number retired, number 38. And what I'm trying to do is, with the city of Rialto, possibly when Ronnie Lott Stadium opens up, is possibly have the Rams retire 38. I don't know if they're going to do it. And then I'm going to try to go after the Cowboys. But with Joe Baca Jr., I was going to talk to him in never mind. I can't talk to him.
I'm sorry, but it looks like we are repeating the same comments over and over. So I do have two other cards, but if it's pertaining to the same thing, I'm going to deny them. I have Raul Rodriguez. Is it pertaining to the same thing? Something else? Okay. We're done with the Blanca thing.
We're done with the mayor thing, too.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council members. I did forget to mention the fact that last month when I spoke on the issue regarding the war between Mexico and USA, and excuse me, please do not interrupt me.
He's speaking.
Please do not interrupt me. Mayor?
This is a different issue. Continue.
Okay, the issue that I'm bringing up is last month I brought up this issue, and Mr. Kennedy made a comment that my information was incorrect. Well, I turned in a packet of information, 7 pages of information regarding the comment that I made about Mexico and the USA. $15 million was paid, and you were trying to correct me, stating that what I said was incorrect. Well, I gave you the information, sir. I'm not saying this to belittle you or say anything bad about you. I'm just giving you information because I think it's important that we clarify the information, okay? I don't mean to disrespect you. I respect you people on the board, with the exception of one, but anyway, thank you very much, and you have a great night.
Thank you. Deanne DeLeon? Only if it's a different issue? Only if it's something different? Okay.
My issue this time is about grants. I taught for 47 years, wrote a lot of grants, and then I learned where this grant money came from. It comes from every single state in America. Now, everybody has a right to come to this community or any other community if a grant was granted to their city council. It comes from all our taxpayers, and many people don't know that. They don't realize that they have a right to come here and complain or agree to a grant that comes your way or any other city council. That's why I go to all the different city councils, because it comes from the United States. It is a tax paid by every single citizen for all the grants. We had plenty of grants for school districts. Now, there are some things that people are forgetting about, and I'll see if I can remember it. The president has every right to do what he's doing, to cut out sanctuary cities, and that is where the grants come in at. Millions and millions of dollars in sanctuary cities will be taken away from California, and if it becomes a state, millions and millions of dollars, and the Orville Dam will never get repaired. We got to remember that. So we got to stay away from sanctuary cities. And I just wanted people to remember where the grant money comes from, and our own city gets grant monies. So we want to be careful about that. And we had Blanca's people just leave. And it was very important for them to know this situation, to know that information, because they do not know what the Brown Act is. And I advised them to get down to the library, law library. Costs about $25 to make copies. I did that for about 3 or 4 hours one time and got the whole book about the Brown Act. And it helps you understand what's going on at a city council, what you can and can't do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Maggie Martin. It is a different issue?
It was just a comment I forgot to add when I was speaking originally, so the answer is no. But you know what? I'm just going to savor it until the next meeting and then refine it, and then I'll be ready.
Thank you. Oh, that's it. Reports from our city manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The only thing I have is an upcoming, seems trivial, but it is not. Our staff continue to do good work out there. On Saturday, April 8th, is our community cleanup taking place throughout the city. Still taking volunteer registrations. If you sign up by the end of day tomorrow, Wednesday, March 22nd, then you're guaranteed an event T-shirt. After that, no guarantees. We try to order a few extras, but hope you'll come out and support our community cleanup on Saturday, April 8th.
Council members.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make some comments. For the record, I would just like to let the other cities know, and the school boards and the college, I'd like to apologize to the people that came here today. I'd like to apologize to them. This is not how things are supposed to work. So this is an embarrassment, and I hope that this doesn't happen in other cities, but that's why you need policies in place and procedures and that whatnot. But going forward, I'd like to just say that we'd like to move on and just focus on the service to the community, which is what we're all here, and it's not a competition. So I find it insulting and laughable for anybody to compare. There's no way I would compare myself to Councilmember Kennedy and what he's meant to this city, or Mayor Garcia, or Mayor Pro Tem Cox. That is unproductive. And so what I hope is, and what I've always said since the election is, I hope we have some improvement. The next meeting, and it wasn't coming. It's not coming. I don't think it's coming. So the comments to deal with this behind closed doors, or, you know, that's nice. That's nice. Thanks a lot for that. We have someone who does not want to be a team member. It's already stated that. And I said, don't take things personal. Work with your council members. Socialize things. Don't just throw things out there. Do your homework. Be prepared. I've already said all this. So all that guidance and everything. Why was I doing that? Because I have an interest in this particular person? No. I wanted to avoid exactly today, and it's been building up. Okay? So trust me, we have a lot of experience. I am, out of Blanca's colleagues, I am the least experienced with 25 years experience. And I know how to work together. I know how to get things done. I've been doing it, and I plan on continuing. But if we can't focus on the business of the city, just like tonight, the only thing I keep hearing from her are things like, we need change. Well, quite frankly, the only thing that's changed since she's joined the council is our meetings are 2 or 3 times longer. So, I'd like a reset. I'd like a meeting with the city attorney and Councilmember Gomez to talk about how we can improve things going forward. There is not a lack of respect, despite what other people think. Professional courtesy and decorum are expected at a professional business meeting, and that was disgusting what I saw tonight. You know what? Believe it or not, we're not rewarded to be here that much. It really isn't. Unless you have some freaking ego where, ooh, I'm somebody. No, this is service. And it's days like this that make you question, why am I even doing this? You know, when kids come up here and get rewarded for doing a great job at school or have some projects and won some contests, those are the best days. And I really enjoy those days because they weren't days like this.
Mr. Kennedy, did you have some?
No. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Normally, when individuals speak to the council, we can't respond because it's not on the council agenda, but I do want to respond to 2 comments. I believe it was a gentleman said that Ms. Gomez's constituency is different than ours. If you look at the votes, the constituency is the same. It would be numerically impossible not to be. If you look at the votes that were cast, then the same people voted for us 3 or us 3 wouldn't have got elected. There wasn't a different constituency. There's not enough to do that. And the numbers are there. So we all represent the same people. We don't need to be divided, and we don't welcome individuals whose attempt to divide us for dividing purposes. We're trying to work together for the betterment of the city, and I hope we can do that. The other individual that made the remark about the golf course, I just wanted to say, ever since I've been on the council, the city attorney has said that I have a conflict because my home is there, has been there for a lot of years, and therefore I have never been allowed to vote on any issue regarding the golf course. I feel like there's a large number of homeowners who continually call me about complaints that I can't respond to, but I can running dogs and trash. But on the golf course itself, whether it's monies to be given or taken away or whatever, I'm not allowed to vote on that issue, and so I don't. And so to some degree, I thought I would answer that. And in regard to the voice of the constituency, I hope I am. I hope I can represent the individuals. Last comment that I have to make, there was 3 different references about rooting out corruption or getting to the bottom of corruption. I want to ask each and every one of you, if someone tells you there is corruption at City Hall, say, show me, prove it to me, give me something, because we don't like those kind of rumors. If you look at these 5 people and know these 5 people, you would know that there is no corruption, because any one of us would turn in the other if that was going on. If you believe it's going on and you have any proof, tell somebody, police department, county district attorney, we do not want corruption of any kind anywhere. I don't know of any. If I did, I would report it. If somebody is telling you there is any kind of corruption, make them prove it and demand that they go to the proper authorities. We don't need it in the council. The public doesn't need it, and the citizens don't need this. We need to have a good, well-run city free of corruption where we work together. That's my hope. And really, don't perpetuate a myth that doesn't exist. If you believe it exists, get to the bottom of it. Do something about it. Be involved. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Lori, I'm going to say one thing. I've done 8 years on the Water District Board, and in a couple of years I'll be 8 years on the council. It's only about service. That's all it is. That's the only reason we're here. The money isn't worth it. The sense of power isn't worth it. The sense of esteem from people who come in here and call us corrupt when you have no idea what you're talking about. It's just insulting. What we've done on this council in the last 8 years is we've turned around a $13 million budget deficit. We've improved roads. They aren't fixed yet, but we've done that. We've added police. We've found every nickel we could to improve law enforcement, to improve code enforcement, to do everything we can to make our city that all of us share a better place to live. And to have somebody come in who knows nothing about that service and challenge our integrity and our honesty and our motives, it's just, you seriously sit here and ask yourself, is it worth it? I've spent my life building a reputation in the profession I work in. Nothing more important to me than my reputation. And to listen to some of the kind of comments that we've had to listen to tonight are just unbelievable. That's all I want to say.
Did you have something?
Yes. So, point of clarification, I have the point of order and privilege. What's the time limit? Because I'm going to ask that whoever's going to be interrupting me, please refrain from interrupting my speech. Would you please... Excuse me? Well, yeah, is there a time limit? Because if there is, I need to... No, I'm just going to exercise what I've written to go here. No, I don't have a 3-minute limit. Not like you guys. Okay, so on December 6, 2016, Blanca Gomez, I was sworn into office. This room in front of the council, the City of Victorville staff, the public, its audience, webcast, and TV land. During that meeting, I took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution from enemies both foreign and domestic. Today, there are 5 political elected representatives before you. I'm a representative of a people's voice. Victorville is a municipality held within the state governed by a federal government. We are a democracy, a system of government. Victorville is a community of approximately 125,000 people, a system of government. 44,000 registered voters voted in a citywide system election, this presidential election, November 2018. I don't only represent the over 8,000 votes, but all the 125,000 votes, covering the 69 to 72 square miles that boundaries the city of Victorville, which includes residents, businesses, owners, organizations, faith-based, non-based organizations, and individuals who pass through the city. We up here are equal. We are elected by the same people to represent the city of Victorville. I'm not leaving office. We need to work together, and I'm willing to forget and start all over. I don't have the reports and the data, but I'm concerned that there's citizens that have been informing me, so I'm transitioning. I've had citizens report to me lights being off at the I-15 interchange near Devore. I inquired about the Devore interchange project, requesting information about these luminaires. These lights were off, according to the concerned citizens, since last May and April. The Caltrans district director informed me that the lights are now up and they're functioning. If you notice anything else, please bring it to our attention. I want to make sure that the commuters are driving safe at night. In December, I asked for a review, a report for discussion and possible action to become agendized. This is my second request publicly to agendize translation services for deliberation and possible action. The United States of America does not have a formal language. I and anyone that has an issue, why don't you write a letter to Donald Trump and ask him what's the language of the United States? You are violating the rights of my voters' languages. I ask that the legislative body do the same. We don't hold power over the other. We are equal. At the end, it's not me or they. It needs to be us. I have a letter from a constituent to whom it may concern December 21st. My wife and I want Blanca Gomez to keep representing our community because she is our voice. Through Blanca, our community is well represented as she is the reason that we have a voice. She listens to us and speaks for us. Ever since I met Blanca, she'd done nothing but offer her help to us, and now it's our turn to help her. She is a very helpful and caring person, and I believe that she's best suited for the position. Blanca listens to us, the community, and she lends us every helping hand she could give, and to all of our community. There needs to be more people like her because we are a community and we are supposed to care and look out for each other, something that Blanca excels at. Thank you for listening to us. It's greatly appreciated, and I'm going to submit this to the record, and each council member received an email. The next one is, hello, Councilwoman Blanca Gomez. This is a concern. In our neighborhoods, we are getting mail stolen from our mailboxes. It's been a major issue from what is being discussed in nextdoor.com. What is the website that the next door neighbor is the area that we live in? On my street alone, there's been at least 3 neighborhoods who've talked about having their mail stolen. When my husband called to make the report, we didn't know what was stolen. However, we discovered later on that it was a debit card. Since then, we purchased a new mailbox. However, I wonder what the city is doing. So if that could be addressed, I think I forwarded it. I would like to get a response to that constituent. And that's also going to be submitted for the record for today. And third, hi Doug, can you please give me a brief update on the fire services? Did the city start accepting outside bids for the job? Please remember we need to compare apples to apples. Lastly, please, the good people of Victorville cannot afford a new tax. Please note, we don't like fees increase. Please look at the state's offer. If they can do the same level of staffing cheaper, we need to sign with them. I mad respect for the county fire crew. They keep us safe for a long time, but I don't think we can afford it anymore. And that's also going to be entered into the record. And lastly, what I like to say is Daniel Mejia was here. Daniel Mejia is our new fire protection chief captain. And every time I see him sitting in the audience, I wonder, why is he sitting in the audience? We have an empty seat right here. I remember when Chief Captain Lucia left, he was replaced by Chief Schuler, which is sitting up here. So I'm just wondering, why is our fire protection representative taking the seat with the audience and doesn't have a seat with council, just like Mr. Schuler? If someone can please respond to that.
Yeah, let me respond to a couple of those items. Maggie, please. You've interrupted the meeting many times. So it's the mayor's job to ask to have someone removed, but I'm about to go whisper in her ear if you don't stop. So a couple of those items. Two, I'll address the last 2 emails that you mentioned. Captain Schuler has responded to your email regarding the mail theft. Apparently you haven't seen that yet. Regarding the email from Hakeem Majid, I responded to that today, copied you on that. So those are both already answered in your email. With regard to why the fire chief sits in the audience and the police chief sits at the dais, actually, we asked Chief Lucia, Captain Lucia, to sit at the dais in order to provide some security for the council and for the staff that sit up here. It allows him an opportunity to see who's coming in the door in the event of any kind of a potential threat. That was done in response to threats in other cities and incidents in other cities. I don't even recall the specific one, but I think there was a terrorist action. So he's there to provide eyes for his deputies who are typically have their backs to the audience. There's really no purpose to have the fire chief up here. We have on occasion had the other assistant city manager up here. He's not attending this meeting. That's why that seat is vacant.
I would have loved to translate my words in Spanish and sign language, but our voice is being muted. Me hubiera encantado traducir mis palabras en
Please,
español
you're not supposed to speak in
señalar,
Spanish.
pero sé que mi voz ha sido apagada.
Meeting is adjourned. Yeah, let's go. This is enough.